Do you ever get the feeling that you're being watched? Well, you might just be right. Britain is the most surveilled country in the world. The UK has nearly 60,000 council-owned CCTV cameras, and it's estimated that there may be as many as 4 million cameras countrywide. But is CCTV actually effective at preventing crime and keeping us safe? And is it worth the cost? After all, CCTV technology is not a cheap business. It costs local authorities up and down the country hundreds of thousands of pounds. And here in Sheffield, it's no different. This year, the council will spend almost £700,000 on monitoring and maintaining its existing CCTV cameras. So have we gone a bit too far with our surveillance society? Are we intruding in each other's privacy by keeping the cameras rolling? Some human rights activists certainly think so. They worry that the increasingly widespread use of CCTV is going a step too far and intruding into our privacy on the streets.
The level of council surveillance in this country, just with CCTV, no other kind of surveillance, that kind of surveillance has tripled in this country over the last 10 years. Cameras placed in a specific place for a specific purpose, used in a proportionate way, absolutely fine. It's the blanket use of surveillance everywhere, all the time, just in case. That's what's wrong.
In 2008, a review found that CCTV only has a modest impact on crime. Experts found that cameras are much more effective at stopping crime in car parks than on the streets. But despite this, CCTV continues to have more money spent on it than any other crime prevention measure. So if CCTV cameras aren't actually making us any safer, then why have local authorities invested so much money on this technology?
The crime prevention budget, it was such that you said, if you've got a crime prevention problem, you can apply for funds for CCTV. Of course, people will apply for everything. Oh, yeah, if you're Sussex Council and you've got Surrey Council next door, and why should Surrey Council get £2 million and me not? You know, so they will apply and say, "Oh, we must have CCTV," and so it was seen as a panacea, and that was the problem, really, and people were allowed to apply and have it.
So how much does it actually cost local authorities to run CCTV schemes? 10 years ago, Sheffield Council had 60 street-facing cameras and spent over £300,000 on monitoring and maintaining these. This year, the council will have more than doubled this amount by spending £672,000 on 133 cameras. That works out to an annual cost of over £5,000 per camera, and this figure doesn't include installation costs. But what do the public think about CCTV? I've come to Sheffield city centre to find out if people really are worried by the idea that they're being caught on camera.
I've got no problem with CCTV. As far as I'm concerned, the only people that have got problems with CCTV are people who are hiding something.
I don't like it because it stops me doing bad things. And
what bad things?
Yeah, what bad things do you do?
Like taking drugs and drinking and shoplifting and things like that.
The CCTV cameras don't affect me in any way. I'm sort of totally oblivious to them.
It's invading privacy, it's just not necessary, it's a bit wrong.
It makes you feel a little bit safer, I think, to have things like that around, and it's helped me in certain situations, so I actually quite like it.
A recent study by the Home Office found that 8 out of 10 people would be happy to see a CCTV scheme set up in their area. That's because they think it will significantly reduce local crime levels. 80% of the people surveyed agreed with the statement that, with CCTV on an estate, the level of crime would get lower. But if we listen to the findings of academic reports, it seems that this might not necessarily be the case.
I think people like CCTV because they're being asked the wrong question. They're not being asked, do you want CCTV or something else? They're just being asked, do you want to use cameras to solve crimes? Well, who's going to say no? If we offer people a choice, do you want the cameras or, for example, a Bobby on the beat, I think I know what they'd choose.
So far, I'm struggling to understand why we've invested so much money on CCTV. In a bid to find out whether these cameras can be useful, I've come to a CCTV monitoring station in West Sussex to find out exactly how one works. Centres like these are the place where all the action happens. This one control centre monitors over 400 cameras across the county. So how do rooms like these work to reduce street crime?
There's a very close link between the people sitting in this room and the officers on the ground. So, for example, if someone gets called to some sort of fight, my operators will know very quickly that that is happening. They'll be able to look and see if there's any cameras in the area. And then once that happens, they'll be able to have very quick communication with the officers, perhaps to advise them to look in another area, or perhaps to concentrate on a particular individual that the operator has identified as the suspect or the offender.
And in some areas, CCTV does seem to be making a positive difference. Across Sheffield city centre, bars and clubs use cameras to keep potential troublemakers away. The Frog and Parrot has recently been named the safest pub in the country by Best Bar None, an award scheme that recognises good practice in pubs, bars and restaurants. It's a small pub, but it has 13 closed-circuit cameras. Its manager believes they're important in keeping Sheffield safe.
Sheffield is the safest city in terms of criminality in the UK, and I think CCTV plays a part in that. It's reassuring. We're happy for it to be there, absolutely. All of the bars around here work very closely together to share best practice.
So what's next for CCTV? Well, it certainly looks set to stay with us. Over the last few months, the Home Office has announced that it wants to place tighter regulations over the country's existing CCTV network. At the moment, it's not entirely clear what regulation would mean in a practical sense, but an announcement on what's coming next is expected before the end of the year. Tighter regulation of the network is something that human rights groups and Sheffield City Council both say that they'd support.
Well, I think we'd want to regulate because the Liberal Democrats are very much in favour of civil liberties, and that's not to say we don't see this as CCTV as a tool to help in terms of security and safety, but ultimately we've got to make sure that people's civil liberties are protected, because the vast majority of people who walk around this city, and are actually behind me now, are actually innocent, ordinary citizens that never break the law. Yes, they want to be kept safe, but they don't want their civil liberties infringed.
Although the large sums of money that have been spent on cameras over the past decade might not have provided taxpayers with great value for money yet, it seems that steps are being taken to make more efficient use of the technology that's in place. And with the coalition government taking steps to regulate the existing camera network, perhaps those of us worried about CCTV can finally smile about being on camera. This is Sophia Lightfoot for Just News.